The warning lights flashed red across the control panel. Dae-hyun slammed his fist against the dashboard, but the engine temperature kept climbing. His cargo freighter, the Dawn's Promise, was falling apart piece by piece. He needed to stop for repairs, and he needed to stop now. The Shattered Moons region stretched before him like a graveyard of broken rocks and ice. This was the worst place in the sector to have engine trouble. Pirates loved these asteroid fields. They could hide between the rocks and attack ships that couldn't run away. But Dae-hyun had no choice. If he pushed the engines any harder, they would explode. He guided his ship toward a large asteroid with a flat surface. The landing was rough. Metal groaned and scraped as the ship settled onto the rock. Dae-hyun sat in his pilot seat for a moment, listening to the engines tick and cool. He was alone out here. The nearest station was 3 days away at full speed. His company would fine him for the delay. They always did. He grabbed his repair kit and helmet. The work would take at least 6 hours, maybe 8 if the damage was worse than he thought. As he prepared to go outside, his sensor panel beeped. A distress beacon, weak but steady, coming from somewhere nearby. Dae-hyun stared at the signal. Every instinct told him to ignore it. Distress beacons in the Shattered Moons were usually traps. Pirates used fake signals to lure rescue ships. But something about this one felt different. It wasn't broadcasting on any standard frequency. It was old, maybe damaged. He checked his fuel reserves. Barely enough. He checked his weapons. 1 plasma pistol with half a charge. He checked his common sense. Completely absent, apparently. 20 minutes later, he was flying his small repair shuttle through the asteroid field. The beacon led him deeper into the rocks, away from shipping lanes and patrol routes. His hands were sweaty inside his gloves. This was stupid. This was how people died out here. Then he saw it. A ship, or what was left of one. It had been beautiful once. Sleek silver metal with curved wings and elegant lines. Now it was torn apart, floating in pieces. Scorch marks covered the hull. Weapons fire. Recent, maybe 2 or 3 days old. Dae-hyun brought his shuttle close to the largest piece of wreckage. The distress beacon was coming from inside. He sealed his helmet and checked his oxygen. 4 hours of air. That would have to be enough. The airlock was destroyed, so he entered through a hole blown in the side. Inside was dark except for his helmet light. Debris floated everywhere. Furniture, clothing, broken glass. This had been a luxury vessel, rich passengers. He saw bodies floating in the darkness and looked away quickly. The beacon led him down a corridor. The walls were covered in symbols he didn't recognize. Alien writing, beautiful and complex. He had seen many alien species in his years as a pilot, but these symbols were new to him. He found the beacon in what looked like a bedroom, small, decorated with soft colors and gentle lights that still somehow worked. A child's room. And there, trapped under a piece of the collapsed ceiling, was a small figure. Dae-hyun's heart jumped. He rushed forward, pulling away debris. The child was tiny, maybe the size of a human 5-year-old. But definitely not human. Her skin had a crystalline quality, like she was made of living glass. Patterns of light moved under her skin, dim and flickering. She was dying. He checked for injuries. Her leg was crushed. She had wounds on her side. She was cold, so cold. Exposure to vacuum, probably when the hull was breached. He had seen this before, during his time as a military medic. Minutes mattered now. Dae-hyun pulled the emergency medical kit from his belt. Human supplies, but the basics were the same for most species. Stop the bleeding. Warm the body. Stabilize for transport. His hands moved automatically, doing what he had done 100 times in field hospitals on distant worlds. The child's eyes opened. They were huge and golden, filled with pain and fear. She made a sound, something between a whimper and a musical note. Her small hand reached for him, and he took it without thinking. Hey, it's okay, he said softly. I've got you. You're going to be okay. She probably couldn't understand his words, but maybe she understood his tone. She held his hand with surprising strength. The light patterns under her skin pulsed faster. He worked quickly. The medical foam sealed her wounds. The thermal blanket from his kit began warming her body. He gave her a dose of universal stabilizer, praying it would work with her biology. Then he carefully lifted her free from the debris. She weighed almost nothing. He held her against his chest, keeping her warm. She pressed her face against his suit and made that musical sound again. Quieter this time, less afraid. I'm calling you Hana, he said, as he carried her back to his shuttle. It means one. Because you're the one who survived. You're the one I found. Getting back to his ship was harder with the child in his arms. He had to move slowly, carefully. Hana drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she woke, she would look at him with those golden eyes and hold tighter to his suit. Back on the Dawn's Promise, Dae-hyun set up the cargo bay as a medical room. He had limited supplies, but he did his best. He connected monitors to track her vital signs, though he wasn't sure what normal readings should be for her species. He kept her warm. He gave her water, just drops at first, and she swallowed. The ship's computer couldn't identify her species. No match in any database. Whoever she was, her people were not common in this part of space. The luxury ship, the expensive construction, the rich decorations. She was important. Maybe the daughter of some wealthy merchant or official. Dae-hyun sat beside her through the night, monitoring her condition. She was stable but weak. She needed proper medical care, the kind he couldn't provide. He needed to get her to a station, to doctors who knew her species. But the shattered moons were still dangerous. His engines still needed repairs. And now he had a mystery on his hands. Who had attacked that ship? Why had they killed everyone except this one child? And why did he feel like saving her had just changed his life in ways he couldn't begin to understand? Hana slept peacefully, her hand still holding on to his. The light patterns under her skin glowed soft and steady now. Alive. Safe. For the first time in years, Dae-hyun felt like he had done something that mattered. Something more important than cargo runs and company deadlines. He had saved a life. Just one life. In a galaxy of billions. It would have to be enough. Outside the ship, in the darkness between the asteroids, his sensors detected movement. Ships approaching. Big ones. And they were coming fast. 2 days passed in careful silence. Dae-hyun finished his engine repairs and plotted a course to the nearest station. Hana was getting stronger. She could sit up now, and she watched him with curious eyes as he worked. She still didn't speak, but she made musical sounds that seemed to mean different things. Happy sounds when he brought her food. Worried sounds when he left the room. He was running final checks on the navigation system when every alarm on the ship started screaming at once. Dae-hyun ran to the cockpit and stared at the scanner display. His blood went cold. 5 warships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Massive vessels, 3 times the size of military cruisers. They were surrounding him in a perfect formation. His sensors could barely process the power readings. These ships could turn his freighter into dust with a single shot. The communication panel lit up. A voice spoke in a language he didn't know, then switched to common trade language, deep and commanding. Unidentified vessel, you will power down all systems and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your immediate destruction. Respond now. Dae-hyun's hand hovered over the weapons controls, his single plasma pistol against 5 warships. He would be dead before he could fire. He pressed the communication button. This is the cargo freighter Dawn's Promise. I'm powering down. No resistance. His ship went dark, except for life support. Within minutes, He heard the heavy clang of a boarding tube attaching to his airlock. Armored boots rang against his deck. Dae-hyun stood in the cargo bay with his hands visible and empty. Hana was behind him, wrapped in a thermal blanket, watching with wide eyes. The soldiers that entered were like nothing he had seen before. Tall, wearing armor that seemed to be made from the same crystalline material as Hana's skin. It glowed with inner light, shifting through colors. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. 12 of them filled his cargo bay, moving with perfect coordination. Then their leader entered. He was taller than the others, his armor marked with symbols of rank. He removed his helmet, revealing a face similar to Hana's but older and harder. His skin had fewer light patterns, and his eyes were silver instead of gold. The leader looked at Dae-hyun, then his gaze moved to Hana. His entire body went rigid. He dropped to one knee so fast his armor clanged against the floor. Every soldier in the room did the same. "Princess Lyra," the leader said, his voice shaking. "You live. The ancestors be praised, you live." Princess. The word hit Dae-hyun like a physical blow. Not a merchant's daughter, not some minor official's child. A princess. Hana, or Lyra, made a happy musical sound and held up her arms toward Dae-hyun. She wanted to be picked up. He bent down carefully and lifted her. She wrapped her small arms around his neck. The leader stood slowly, his eyes locked on Dae-hyun. "I am Commander Taemin of the Imperial Fleet. You are the one who saved her." It wasn't a question. Dae-hyun nodded anyway. "I found her in a wrecked ship in the Shattered Moons. She was injured. I did what I could." "The royal yacht was ambushed 3 days ago," Taemin said quietly. "Pirates, we thought. Or perhaps worse. We found the wreckage yesterday. Everyone was dead. The Queen's bonded mate, the royal guards, the crew, everyone. We searched for Princess Lyra, but there was no trace. The Queen..." He paused. "The Queen has not spoken since we brought her the news." Dae-hyun felt the weight of those words. He looked down at Lyra, who was playing with a strap on his work suit, making soft sounds. She was so small, so young. She had lost everyone. "I was going to take her to a medical station," Dae-hyun said. "Get her proper care. You will come with us to the homeworld," Taemin said. It was clearly an order, not a request. "The Queen must see her daughter, and she must meet the one who saved her. I need to deliver my cargo. My company will..." "Your company will be compensated beyond measure," Taemin interrupted. "You do not understand what you have done, human. The Valoran Empire has been searching with every ship, every resource. Planets have been locked down. Trade has stopped. We would have torn this sector apart rock by rock to find her, and you..." He shook his head. "You simply found her, saved her, kept her alive." One of the soldiers approached with a medical scanner. Taemin nodded permission. The soldier scanned Lyra carefully, then spoke to Taemin in their language. Taemin's expression softened. "You stabilized her correctly," he said to Dae-hyun. "The wounds are healing well. You used human medical supplies?" "It's all I had." It was enough. More than enough. Taemin gestured to his soldiers. "Prepare the princess for transport. Carefully." "She won't let go of me," Dae-hyun said. It was true. Lyra's grip on his suit tightened whenever the soldiers came near. Taemin studied them both for a long moment. "Then you will carry her to the flagship. We will discuss the implications during the journey." The flagship was enormous. Dae-hyun's entire freighter would have fit in the landing bay. The corridors were wide and tall, lined with that strange glowing crystal. Soldiers and crew members stopped and stared as they passed. Word was spreading fast. The princess was found. The princess was alive. They gave Dae-hyun quarters near the medical bay. Expensive quarters with soft furniture and walls that changed color based on his mood, apparently. Lyra was taken for proper medical treatment, though she cried when separated from him. The sound broke his heart. Taemin visited him that evening. The commander brought food and drink, setting it on a table that rose from the floor. "You are wondering why you are being treated as an honored guest rather than a suspect," Tae-min said, sitting across from him. "The thought crossed my mind. We scanned your ship, reviewed your flight logs. You are exactly what you appear to be, a freight pilot who made an emergency stop and found our princess by chance." Tae-min poured a drink that glowed faintly blue. "Some would call it fate. I call it bad timing and a stupid decision to follow a distress beacon." Tae-min smiled. It was a sad smile. "In our culture, there is a concept called thalnara. It means life debt. When one being saves another from certain death, a bond is created. A sacred bond. I don't believe in magic bonds. It is not magic. It is law. It is tradition older than your entire species." Tae-min leaned forward. "You saved Princess Lyra with your own hands. You kept her alive when she should have died. In doing so, you created a thalnara between yourself and the royal family, specifically between yourself and the princess." Dae-hyun felt something cold in his stomach. "What does that mean?" "It means you are bound to her until the debt is fulfilled. You are her guardian now, whether you intended to be or not." "That's insane. I'm a cargo pilot. I don't know anything about being a guardian or whatever." "Yet you saved her. You protected her. You kept her safe in the most dangerous region of space." Tae-min stood. "The Queen will want to see you when we arrive. I suggest you prepare yourself. Queen Nari does not forget those who protect her children, and she does not easily let them go." After Tae-min left, Dae-hyun sat in the expensive quarters and tried to process everything. A princess, a life debt, a queen who wouldn't let him go, all because he had done the right thing and saved a dying child. Later, they let him visit Lyra in the medical bay. She was sleeping in a bed designed for her species, surrounded by gentle lights. Her injuries were healing fast now with proper care. She looked peaceful. He started to leave, but her hand reached out and caught his. Her eyes opened, golden and bright. "Hana," he whispered, using the name he had given her. She made a sound like bells chiming. Then she spoke, the first clear word he had heard from her. It was in her language, but somehow he understood its meaning. "Stay." Dae-hyun pulled a chair close to her bed. He sat down and held her small hand. Outside the window, stars rushed past as the flagship carried them toward the Valoran homeworld, toward a queen who had lost everything and gained back only one precious thing, toward a future Dae-hyun had never imagined. He had wanted a quiet life, simple cargo runs, no complications. That life was over now. The planet appeared on the view screen like a jewel in space, Velarax Prime, the home world. It was beautiful in a way that made Dae-hyun's chest ache. Blues and greens swirled with silver clouds. 3 moons orbited close, their surfaces covered in the same crystalline structures that made up Valoran architecture. As they descended through the atmosphere, Dae-hyun saw cities that looked like they had grown from the ground rather than been built. Towers of crystal reached toward the sky, connected by bridges of light. Gardens spread between the buildings, full of plants that glowed with bioluminescence. Everything was bright, clean, and utterly alien. "It's overwhelming at first," Tae-min said beside him. "You will adjust." "Will I?" Dae-hyun watched the capital city grow larger below them. "You keep talking like I'm going to be here for a while." Tae-min didn't answer. That was answer enough. The flagship landed at the royal palace, which was less a building and more a mountain of crystal shaped into towers and halls. Thousands of Valorans lined the landing area. When Lyra appeared at the top of the boarding ramp, the crowd erupted in sound. Not cheering exactly, but a musical cry of joy that made the air vibrate. Lyra held Dae-hyun's hand. She wore royal clothing now, soft robes that matched the color of her skin. Her injuries were almost completely healed. but she wouldn't walk down the ramp unless he came with her. At the bottom of the ramp stood a figure that made everyone else seem dim by comparison. Queen Nari was tall and elegant, wearing robes that seemed to be made of light itself. Her skin patterns were complex and moved like living art. Her eyes were the same gold as Lyra's, but older, sadder. When she saw her daughter, Queen Nari's composure broke. She dropped to her knees and opened her arms. Lyra ran to her, and mother and daughter held each other while the crowd sang. Dae-hyun stood awkwardly at the bottom of the ramp, feeling like he should leave but having nowhere to go. Then Queen Nari stood, still holding Lyra. She walked toward Dae-hyun. Every eye in the crowd watched. The queen stopped in front of him, and for a long moment, she simply looked at him, studying his face, his eyes, seeing him. Then she did something that made the entire crowd gasp. She pressed her forehead to his hands. Dae-hyun stood frozen. He didn't know what to do. The most powerful person in this empire was bowing to him. "You brought my daughter home," Queen Nari said softly, her voice carrying despite its gentleness. "You saved her when all my power, all my ships, all my warriors could not. There are no words in any language sufficient to thank you." "I just did what anyone would do," Dae-hyun managed to say. "No." The queen raised her head. Tears marked her face, but her voice was strong. "You did what no one else could do. You found her. You saved her. You are her guardian now, in the eyes of the ancestors and the law." There it was. The trap he had felt closing around him since Tai-min first explained the Thalnara. "Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I can't stay. I have a life, a job. I know what you need," Queen Nari interrupted. "I know you want to return to your simple life, but I cannot release you from the Thalnara. No one can. It is beyond even a queen's power." She gestured to the palace. "Come. We will speak privately. I owe you that much at least." The royal chambers were vast and beautiful. Windows opened onto gardens that seemed to float in the air. Waterfalls ran upward instead of down. It was like being inside a dream. Queen Nari sat on a chair that formed itself from the floor. She gestured for Dae-hyun to sit as well. Lyra climbed into his lap immediately. She seemed determined to never let him go. "The Thalnara is ancient," the queen began. "It was created in the early days of our civilization when survival was uncertain. Those who saved lives were honored and protected. The bond between savior and saved was considered sacred. It still is." "But surely there are exceptions," Dae-hyun said. "I'm not even Veloran. I didn't know about your customs when I saved her." "Ignorance does not break the bond. Neither does species. The Thalnara exists because life is precious. You proved you understand that when you risked your own safety to save a child you did not know." Queen Nari's expression softened. "My daughter needs a guardian. The attack that killed my bonded mate was not random. It was an assassination." The word hung in the air. Dae-hyun felt Lyra's small body tense against him. "Someone wants her dead," he said quietly. "Someone wants the royal line dead." Queen Nari stood and walked to the window. "My cousin, Duchess Hyrim, believes the throne should pass through her bloodline. She has supporters, powerful ones. When my mate died, many thought Lyra would be too young to hold the succession, that I would be too grief-stricken to rule effectively. But you're still queen." "I am. But Lyra remains a target. A child is seen as weak, vulnerable. The traditional guards failed to protect her once. They failed to protect any of the royal family that day." Queen Nari turned back to face him. "But you did not fail. You succeeded where an entire empire could not. I got lucky. Perhaps. Or perhaps you have something my people have lost." The queen's eyes were intense. "Humans are known for doing impossible things, for surviving when you should die. for winning when you should lose. You call it stubbornness. I call it strength. You want me to be her bodyguard. I want you to be her guardian. To teach her how to be strong like humans are strong. To protect her, yes, but also to show her a different way of thinking. The Valoran way is beautiful, but rigid. We follow tradition. We trust in structure. You humans break rules and find new paths. Daehyun looked down at Lyra. She was playing with his fingers, making the light patterns under her skin pulse in rhythm with her movements. She trusted him completely. How long? He asked. How long does the Thalnara last? Until she reaches maturity. For Velerans, that is roughly 30 of your years. 30 years. Daehyun felt the number like a weight. 30 years of his life bound to this alien child and her world. And if I refuse? Then you reject her. You tell her that saving her life meant nothing, that the bond you created was worthless. Queen Nari's voice was gentle but firm. Lyra is young, but she understands more than you think. If you leave, she will believe she is not worthy of protection, that humans who are known for their loyalty found her not worth staying for. That's not fair. No, the Queen agreed. It is not fair. None of this is fair. My mate is dead. My daughter nearly died. You were pulled from your life by chance and custom, but fairness is a luxury we do not have. Daehyun sat in silence, feeling the weight of the decision. Lyra made a soft sound and looked up at him with those golden eyes. She smiled, a small, trusting smile. Can I think about it? He asked. Of course. You are my honored guest. The finest quarters will be prepared for you. You may explore the palace and the city freely. Commander Taemin will be your guide and answer any questions. Queen Nari walked to the door, then paused. But know this, Daehyun of Earth. Whatever you decide, you have my eternal gratitude. You gave me back the only family I have left. That debt can never be fully repaid. After the Queen left, servants came to show him to his quarters. They were even more luxurious than those on the flagship. Rooms that adjusted to his preferences, food prepared by master chefs, clothing made from fabrics that felt like wearing clouds. That night, Daehyun stood on his balcony and looked out at the alien city. Lights glowed in the darkness like stars brought down to Earth. Music floated on the breeze, the natural songs of Valoran evening gatherings. He thought about his freighter, probably being repaired and upgraded by the best engineers in the Empire. He thought about his cargo route, which some other pilot would be flying now. He thought about his small apartment on a distant station, empty and waiting. None of it felt like home anymore. A knock on his door. When he opened it, Lyra stood there with 2 royal guards. She wore sleeping clothes and held a stuffed toy shaped like some Valoran animal. Princess Lyra cannot sleep, one of the guards said apologetically. She insisted on coming here. Lyra walked past the guards and into his quarters like she owned them, which, technically, she did. She climbed onto his couch and patted the seat beside her. Daehyun looked at the guards. They looked back, clearly unsure what to do. He sighed and closed the door. Can't sleep? He asked Lyra. She shook her head. Then she spoke, words in her language that the room's translator turned into common speech. Stay. Please stay. It's more complicated than that. No. She shook her head firmly. Simple. You stay. I'm safe. You go. I'm scared. Children's logic. Direct and impossible to argue with. Daehyun sat beside her. She immediately curled up against him, holding her stuffed toy. Within minutes, she was asleep, peaceful and safe. He looked down at her and felt something shift in his chest. Maybe the Thalnara was real. Maybe it was just biology, one creature caring for another. Or maybe it didn't matter what it was called. She needed him. And maybe, just maybe, he needed her too. Outside the window, the city lights glowed on, beautiful and strange, and somehow starting to feel familiar. 3 months passed like water through fingers. Dae-hyun stopped counting the days. He stopped checking departure schedules for ships heading back toward human space. Somewhere along the way, without making any formal decision, he had simply stayed. The mornings began with Lyra bursting into his quarters at dawn, full of energy and questions. She was learning common speech quickly now, though she mixed it with Velaran words when she got excited. Today she wanted to know about Earth animals. "Tell me about the jumping cats again," she said, bouncing on his bed. "Kangaroos. They're called kangaroos, and they're not cats." "But they jump so high," she demonstrated, bouncing higher. The light patterns under her skin pulsed bright with happiness. These moments felt normal now, natural, like he had been doing this all his life instead of just a few months. Commander Taemin arrived after breakfast, as he did most days. The training sessions had become routine. At first, Dae-hyun thought they were just keeping him busy. Then he realized the truth. They were actually training him to be a royal guardian. "Today we work on close-quarters combat," Taemin said, leading him to the practice arena. Velaran style emphasizes grace and efficiency. Human style emphasizes hitting hard and not dying. Taemin smiled. "I was going to say adaptability, but your version works too." The training was brutal. Velaran warriors moved like water, flowing from one position to another. Dae-hyun fought like humans always fought, finding advantages in unexpected places, using the environment, breaking the rules of engagement. "You fight dirty," Taemin observed after Dae-hyun used a training mat as a weapon. "I fight to win." "Good, because those who wish Princess Lyra harm will not follow rules either." The words reminded Dae-hyun why he was learning all this. 3 months of peace did not mean the danger had passed. The Queen's intelligence network reported continued activity from Duchess Hyarim's faction, meetings in secret, weapons being moved, money changing hands. "When will she make her move?" Dae-hyun asked. "When she believes she can win." Taemin offered him water. "Duchess Hyarim is patient, clever. She will strike when we are most vulnerable. Then we make sure we're never vulnerable." Spoken like a true guardian. After training, Dae-hyun usually spent time with Lyra in the palace gardens. She loved the floating gardens especially, platforms that drifted through the air held up by some technology he didn't understand. Today, they were planting seeds in a small plot the gardeners had set aside for her. "In Earth stories," Lyra said carefully, focusing on her common speech, "humans always win against bigger enemies. Why?" "Because we're too stubborn to lose," Dae-hyun said. "When everyone says something is impossible, humans take it as a challenge." "Is that why you came to the Shattered Moons? Everyone says it's dangerous." "That's why I almost didn't go. But I saw your distress signal and couldn't ignore it." Lyra pressed a seed into the soil with serious concentration. "Mother says you saved me because humans have strong hearts." "Your mother gives me too much credit." "No." Lyra looked up at him with those golden eyes. "You have the strongest heart I know. You stayed even when you wanted to leave. That's what strong means." Sometimes this child was too wise for her own good. The afternoons were for lessons. Lyra had tutors who taught her history, mathematics, art, and diplomatic protocol. Dae-hyun sat in on many of these lessons, learning about Valoran culture. In exchange, he taught her about humanity, about Earth, about the messy, chaotic, beautiful way humans lived. "Humans go to war over ideas?" one of the tutors asked, shocked. "Sometimes," Dae-hyun admitted. "We're not always smart about it." "But you also create art during war," Lyra added. She had made him show her human poetry and music. "You find beauty even in terrible times." "That's survival too," Dae-hyun explained. "Hope is a weapon. Sometimes the only one you have." The court was slowly accepting him. At first, the nobles and officials had been skeptical of the human guardian, too informal, too disrespectful of tradition. But Lyra clearly adored him, and Queen Nari supported him completely. That was enough to silence most criticism. Others were different. Dae-hyun could feel their eyes watching him at formal dinners and ceremonies, calculating, judging, waiting for him to fail. One evening, after a particularly tense court gathering, Queen Nari invited him to her private chambers. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking a warm beverage that tasted like honey and starlight. "You are wondering when the other shoe will drop," the Queen said finally. "The other shoe? A human expression I learned from our cultural database. It means waiting for something bad to happen." "I'm always waiting for something bad to happen. Old habit." "You were a soldier once." It wasn't a question. The Queen had clearly read his background thoroughly. "Medic, I saved lives. Tried to anyway." Dae-hyun stared into his cup. "Didn't save enough." "Is that why you saved Lyra? Atonement?" "I saved her because she needed saving, that's all." Queen Nari smiled. "You are a terrible liar, Dae-hyun of Earth. You saved her because you still carry every life you failed to save. You saw a chance to do what you could not do before, to succeed where you had failed." The words hit harder than any training session. Dae-hyun said nothing. "I chose you as Lyra's guardian, not just because of the Thalnara," the Queen continued. "I chose you because you understand loss. You understand the weight of protecting something precious. My other guards are loyal and skilled, but they have never failed. You have. And you learned from it. You're saying my failures make me qualified? I am saying your failures made you careful, made you human." Queen Nari set down her cup. "Duchess Hyerim believes she can take the throne because she follows every tradition perfectly. She does not understand that traditions can be both strength and weakness. You understand that. You are my advantage that she cannot calculate. No pressure, then." "Oh, there is enormous pressure. I am trusting you with my daughter's life, with the future of the Empire." The Queen's eyes glinted with something fierce. "But I have seen you with Lyra. I have seen how you protect her without smothering her, how you teach her to be strong, not just safe. That is what she needs. What I need." A week later, the first real test came. Dae-hyun was escorting Lyra through a public ceremony when his instincts screamed danger. Years of military training made him react before his conscious mind understood why. He grabbed Lyra and dove sideways just as an ornamental pillar exploded where she had been standing. Energy fire tore through the ceremony hall. Panic erupted. Guards rushed forward, but Dae-hyun was already moving. He carried Lyra low, using furniture and pillars for cover. His mind calculated angles and threats automatically. 3 attackers, dressed as servants. Professional, coordinated. One of them moved to cut off the exit. Dae-hyun grabbed a ceremonial banner pole and used it as a staff, taking down the assassin with brutal efficiency. Another appeared from a side corridor. Dae-hyun threw the pole like a spear, buying seconds. Enough time to reach a weapons locker. The guards finally caught up. They engaged the remaining attackers. Taemin appeared, his face pale with fury. "Get the princess to safety!" Dae-hyun ran. He knew the palace layout now, knew every passage and hidden route. He brought Lyra to a secure chamber and stayed with her while guards swept the entire building. Lyra was shaking, but unhurt. She held on to him tightly. "You saved me again," she whispered. "That's my job now." "No." She pulled back to look at him. "It's more than a job. You're my family." Family. The word settled into Dae-hyun's chest and made a home there. Later, after the assassins were captured and interrogated, Taemin came to see him. "You reacted faster than any of us. Your tactics were unconventional but effective. The banner pole as a weapon." He shook his head. No Velaran guard would have thought of that. That's what Queen Nari was counting on. Yes, she was right. Taimin put a hand on Daehyun's shoulder. You are truly one of us now, a guardian of the royal house. The court will not question your position again. That night, Queen Nari visited Daehyun's quarters. She looked tired but determined. The attack was orchestrated by Hyerim's people, she said. We have proof now. She is moving faster than we expected. The real confrontation is coming. How long do we have? Days. Maybe weeks. She is gathering her forces. When she strikes, it will be with everything she has. Then we need to be ready. We will be. Because I have you. And Hyerim has never faced someone like you before. Queen Nari turned to leave, then paused. Thank you, Daehyun, for staying, for protecting her, for becoming exactly what we needed. After she left, Daehyun stood on his balcony and looked out at the city. 3 months ago, he had been a nobody, a cargo pilot running from his past. Now he was a guardian to a princess, a member of the royal household, a person with purpose. He thought about his old life and felt nothing but distance. That person seemed like a stranger now. His communicator chimed. A message from Lyra, sent from her quarters. Just 2 words in carefully typed common speech. Thank you, Daehyun smiled and typed back. Always. The city lights glowed bright below. War was coming. Duchess Hyerim would make her move soon. But for now, in this moment, Daehyun felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like he was exactly where he belonged. The attack came at dawn. Daehyun woke to alarms screaming through the palace. He was dressed and armed in seconds, running toward Lyra's quarters. The hallways were chaos, guards rushing to positions, servants being evacuated, the sound of explosions echoing from the city. He burst into Lyra's room to find her already awake, standing by the window in her sleeping clothes. Outside, the sky was full of ships. Duchess Hyerim's fleet had come out of hiding, and they were attacking the capital directly. She is bold, Taimin said, appearing beside him. A direct assault on the palace. She must believe she has enough support to win. Or she's desperate, Daehyun said. Either way, we need to get Lyra somewhere safe. There is no safe place if Hyerim takes the palace. Queen Nari entered the room, wearing armor that made her look like a warrior queen from ancient legends. She will kill us all to secure her claim. Then we stop her. My forces are engaging her fleet now, but she has more ships than we anticipated. Traders in the military gave her access to reserve vessels. We are evenly matched at best. Daehyun watched the battle in the sky. Ships exchanged fire. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. This was a war that would devastate the capital if it continued. We need to end this fast, he said. Cut off the head of the snake. Hyerim will be on her command ship, Taimin said. The largest vessel in her fleet, heavily defended, impossible to reach. Nothing is impossible. That's a human motto. Daehyun turned to face them. Small strike team. Fast ship. We board the command ship and capture Hyerim. Without her, the rebels lose their leadership. The battle ends. That is insane, Taimin said. It's also our best chance. Your Majesty, if we take down Hyerim, can you promise amnesty to her followers? Give them a reason to surrender instead of fighting to the death? Queen Nari considered this. If Hyerim is captured alive and her conspiracy exposed, yes. Many of her supporters were coerced or misled. They will accept mercy. Then we have a plan. I'm coming too, Lyra said. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood straight, looking far older than her years. I am the princess. My people are dying. I will not hide. Absolutely not, Daehyun said. She has been training, Taimin said quietly. In secret. I have been teaching her. She's a child. I am Velaran royalty, Lyra said firmly. And you taught me that humans fight even when afraid. I am afraid. But I will fight anyway. Daehyun looked at Queen Nari. The queen's expression was torn between pride and terror. Finally, she nodded. She goes, but you bring her back safely, or I will hunt you across the universe. Deal. They assembled the strike team in the palace hangar. Taemin, Daehyun, two elite guards named Jiwoo and Yuna, and Princess Lyra. 6 people to take down a command ship and end a civil war. Terrible odds. Perfectly human. The infiltration ship was small and fast, designed for covert operations. It slipped through the battle, too quick for the larger vessels to target. Taemin piloted while Daehyun checked everyone's equipment. Stay close to me, he told Lyra. Do exactly what I say. Understand? I understand. She checked her weapon, a small energy pistol. Her hands were steady. They approached the command ship from below, using debris as cover. The ship's shields had a weak point near the docking bay, a flaw in Valoran defensive design that Daehyun had learned about during his studies. They had maybe 30 seconds before the shields reset. Taemin's piloting was perfect. They slipped through the gap and attached to the hull. Cutting torches burned through the outer airlock. Then they were inside, in a cargo bay full of surprised rebel soldiers. The fight was fast and brutal. Valoran guards fought with elegant precision. Daehyun fought like a human, using everything around him as a weapon. A cargo container became a battering ram. A loading crane became a trap. Jiwoo and Yuna covered their advance with suppressing fire. They fought their way toward the bridge. Alarm klaxons wailed. Bulkhead doors sealed, but Daehyun bypassed them using techniques no Valoran engineer expected. Human creativity applied to alien technology. This way is blocked, Taemin said, checking his scanner. Heavy resistance ahead. Then we go through the maintenance tunnels. Daehyun pointed to a ventilation shaft. Too small for Valoran soldiers in armor, but not too small for us. They crawled through the ship's guts. Lyra moved silently beside Daehyun, brave and focused. He felt fierce pride in her courage. They emerged behind enemy lines, inside a corridor leading to the command deck. But guards were waiting. Someone had anticipated their route. The ambush was perfect. Energy fire filled the hallway. Yuna went down, hit in the chest. She collapsed, her armor smoking. Daehyun dragged her behind cover while Jiwoo returned fire. She's critical, Daehyun said, checking her vitals. We need to fall back. No. Yuna grabbed his arm. Her voice was weak but determined. Finish the mission. I have medical supplies. I can stabilize myself. You'll die. Then I die completing my duty. Go. Daehyun looked at Taemin. The commander's face was anguished but resolute. We continue. For Yuna. For all of them. They pushed forward. 4 of them now. The command deck was close. They could hear Duchess Hyrim's voice over the ship's communication system, demanding victory. Jiwoo fell next, taking 3 hits protecting Lyra from a flanking attack. He went down fighting, taking 2 enemy soldiers with him. Now they were 3. The command deck doors loomed ahead, massive and heavily armored, designed to withstand direct assault. But Daehyun had studied their weakness. Every door had maintenance access points. He planted explosive charges in the locking mechanism. Get back, he warned. The explosion blew the doors inward. They rushed through the smoke and found themselves on the command deck. Duchess Hyrim stood at the center, surrounded by her personal guard. She was tall and regal, wearing armor covered in the symbols of her house. The human, she said with contempt. The queen's pet. You think you can stop this? I think you've already lost, Daehyun replied. Your troops are surrendering outside. The queen is offering amnesty. This ends now. It ends when I sit on the throne. Hyrim gestured to her guards. Kill them, especially the princess. The fight was desperate. Taemin engaged 3 guards at once, his movements a blur of deadly grace. Lyra stayed behind Daehyun, shooting with surprising accuracy. But Hye-Rim moved toward them, fast and lethal. She was targeting Lyra specifically. Dae-Hyun saw it coming, saw the energy blade in her hand, saw the killing strike aimed at the princess. He stepped between them. The blade pierced his chest. Pain exploded through his body. He heard Lyra scream, heard Taemin's shout of rage, but he grabbed Hye-Rim's weapon arm and held on, stopping her from making another strike. "You die for her?" Hye-Rim hissed. "Pathetic." "Not dying," Dae-Hyun gasped. "Just stubborn." With his free hand, he triggered the stun charge he had been carrying. Both of them went down in a crackle of electricity. Dae-Hyun's vision went dark. He heard sounds distantly, fighting, then silence, then a small voice crying his name. "Dae-Hyun! Dae-Hyun, stay with me!" Lyra's face appeared above him. She was crying, her hands glowing as she pressed them against his wound. He tried to tell her it was okay, but couldn't speak. "You taught me," Lyra said through tears. "You taught me about human medicine, about stopping blood, about not giving up." Her hands glowed brighter. "I won't let you die. You hear me? I won't let you go." The Valoran medical technique combined with human first aid knowledge. Lyra worked desperately, doing everything Dae-Hyun had taught her during their time together. The blood flow slowed. His breathing steadied slightly. Taemin secured the command deck. Hye-Rim was unconscious and restrained. Victory was theirs. But Dae-Hyun was fading. "Stay awake," Lyra begged. "Please, you saved me. Now I save you. That's how it works, right? The Thalnara goes both ways." The medical ship arrived. They rushed him to the Royal Hospital. The best doctors in the Empire worked on him. And through it all, Lyra stayed beside him, her small hand holding his. Days passed, maybe weeks. Time was strange. When Dae-Hyun finally woke up, truly woke up, Lyra was there. Older somehow, stronger. "You came back," she said, smiling through new tears. "I'm too stubborn to die. Remember?" The rebellion was over. Hye-Rim was in prison. Her conspiracy exposed. Those who had followed her out of fear accepted the Queen's mercy. The Empire was healing. But the Thalnara had changed. Lyra had saved Dae-Hyun's life, completing the circle. By tradition, the debt was fulfilled. He was free to leave. They held a ceremony in the Great Hall. Queen Nari stood before them all, addressing the court. "The sacred bond has been fulfilled," she announced. "Dae-Hyun of Earth is released from all obligation. He may leave with our blessing and eternal gratitude." Silence filled the hall. Everyone waited to see what the human would do. Dae-Hyun stepped forward. His injury still ached, but he was healing. He looked at Queen Nari, at Lyra, at Taemin and the court that had become his world. "I appreciate the release," he said, "but I'm not going anywhere." Whispers ran through the crowd. Lyra's face lit up with joy. "I'm not staying because of debt or tradition," Dae-Hyun continued. "I'm staying because this is my home now. Lyra is my family. Your fight is my fight. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay as her guardian. Not because I have to, because I choose to." Queen Nari smiled. "The Valoran Empire accepts. And more than that, we welcome you. Not as a stranger bound by tradition, but as one of our own." The court erupted in the musical sounds of Valoran celebration. Lyra ran to him and he lifted her up, laughing. That evening, they stood together on a palace balcony. Lyra, Dae-Hyun, and Queen Nari. The city below was lit with celebration. Peace had returned. "Earth ships arrive tomorrow," Queen Nari said. "The first official delegation. Your presence here has opened diplomatic channels between our peoples." "Humanity and Valorans working together," Dae-Hyun mused. "Could be interesting." "Could be powerful," the Queen corrected. "Your people's adaptability and our people's wisdom. We can learn much from each other. I want to visit Earth someday, Lyra said. See the jumping knot cats, kangaroos, and yes, I'll take you. Show you where I came from. Will you come back here after? Always. This is home now. Lyra hugged him tight. Good. Because I need my guardian, my teacher, my family. Above them, stars shone in the alien sky. Different stars than those that shone on Earth, but beautiful in their own way. Dae-hyun had left one world behind and found another, had run from his past and discovered his future. He had rescued an alien princess in the cold darkness of space, and in doing so, had rescued himself. The queen had never let him go, but in the end, he had never wanted her to. Some bonds were meant to last, some choices were meant to be made, some families were meant to be found among the stars. This was his life now, guardian, bridge builder, human among Valorans, and he would not change it for anything in the universe. The celebration continued into the night. Music filled the air. And on the balcony, a human and a princess watched the stars together, knowing that tomorrow would bring new adventures, new challenges, new reasons to be brave. But tonight, they were simply family, and that was enough.